place you do not know. Lechi lach, on your journey I will bless you, and you shall be a blessing. You shall be.
Ghana? Okay. So this little mount extension we're standing on, which is known as Sussita, is surrounded by the barbed wire from its eastern side. And that barbed wire used to be the border between Israel and Syria between 1948 till 1967. So for 19 years, Sussita was the one and the only Israeli outpost, the one and the only Israeli stronghold on the Golan, not on top of the Golan. As you see, this is, well, a bit over halfway from the Sea of Galilee, but that was the only Israeli stronghold which was part of the Golan. And this one is overlooking Kibbutz, which is called Ein Gev. So towards the end of the tour, we'll make it to a place from which you can see Kibbutz Ein Gev, and then I will tell you a wonderful story about how come that this place was the only Israeli stronghold. Obviously, after 1967, after the 6 Days War, the border moved east all the way to where it is, and then Afik and Givat Yoav and Kfar Harub and so many other kibbutzim and moshavim, etc., well established. But before 67, we could be here about 60 feet away from the Syrian border, as far east as it was possible before 1967. So having said that, and taking a look at these structures behind me, we're not getting any closer because we will lose signal. We know that already. So just take a look at the structures. And this was the main gate of ancient Hippos, ancient Sussita, the ancient Greek and then Roman and then Byzantine city, which was one of the 10 cities of the Decapolis. Okay, that was a long sentence. I will explain that later as we walk around Sussita. But before we start actually walking into the city, and again, imagine that this is the gate, and starting from here, I'm moving into the city, moving west towards the Sea of Galilee. But before we do that, I would like Steve to share a screen, and you will be seeing, well, maybe 2 hours ago, and using his drone. So, Steve, please. Steve, I don't think we see much. I mean, we can see the first slide.
It's working, but it freezes every few seconds, like when you share one.
Okay, because it hardly moves for us here.
Ilana, I sent a video to you too. Do you want to maybe try to share?
Yeah.
I think it'll probably do the same thing, but we could always try.
Did that work at all?
It's freezing. Oh, it was freezing. It was like a series of pictures.
Yeah, maybe it was too high quality to put across. I apologize. It is the video was good that was sent.
The video, yeah, but does it move? I'm not sure it moves. At least as far as I can see. Oh, okay. You just turned it off. Steve, you turn it off?
Yeah, it ended. It only ran 2 minutes.
Okay, yeah, it was for 2 minutes only, but could you actually see Sussita from up above?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a very good, fine video. It might be a bandwidth problem on the quality of the video transmitting. But, the video was fine.
It wasn't. It was fine for you, Steve. For us,
Right.
It was a series of very slow pictures.
Right. That's a bandwidth issue. Sorry.
Well, okay, so maybe if we cannot fix the bandwidth issue, so maybe we should leave drone home next time. Okay, anyhow, so we're trying to do our best. We are standing now at this main street, which you could have seen, well, probably you could see it on the video. And this is the main street leading from the gate where we started. And it goes all the way to the very end, to the very western end of Sussita. And this one goes east to west. In a Roman city, the main street leading east to west would be called the Decumanus, while normally in a normal proper Roman city, the main street would be called Cardo. And Cardo, which is central, must be north to south. But in this case, because of the shape of this mountain extension, they could not have a long enough Cardo, and so they made the Decumanus, the east-west one, the main one. Now, how wide it is? Well, the maximum width of this street is about 5 meters, which is approximately 15 feet, which is quite impressive. I mean, as I'm standing here, I'm impressed, even today, even when I compare it to, modern streets. But if you compare the main street of Sussita to the main street of Jerusalem, approximately the same period of time. If we compare it to the Cardo in Jerusalem, so the Cardo in Jerusalem was 21 meters wide, 21 comparing to about 5. So this is 4 times as much. Can you imagine how huge was that Cardo in Jerusalem? So this is Sussita. The reason why it had to be that way, you will see it in a minute on a drawing, which was made by a guy whose name we already heard. And this is Gottlieb Schumacher, the German Christian engineer from the German colony. Just a minute, I'm looking for, yes, okay. Can you see this drawing now? Okay. Can you see the drawing? Yes, okay, Don said that you can. This is a drawing which pictures the shape of this little hill, which is part of the Golan Heights. And as you can see, it looks sort of in, I don't know what it looks like, maybe an amoeba? Anyhow, it might look like the horse head, if you have this imagination. And therefore, it explains the shape of the city, and it also maybe explains the really special name of the city, because the city is called Sussita or Hippos. So Sussita is Aramaic, and Sussita in Aramaic means a horse. In Hebrew, horse is a sus. Okay, so Susa or Sussita is a horse in Aramaic, while the original Greek name of this place was Hippos. Now, Hippos is a horse, so hippopotamus is a river horse, and Hippos is course. So maybe that's because of this. Now, the significance of that city came from, oh, I'm looking for the right photo, just a minute, okay. And this is a little map of what the land of Israel, this part of the land of Israel, you can see the Dead Sea in the south and the Sea of Galilee and the finger of the Galilee in the north. We have some travelers here. And you can see the cities which names are in pink and others are green, right? So what we see in pink are the 10 cities of what is called a decapolis, the 10 cities which were the significant cities starting from the Roman period and then further into the Byzantine. And you can find Hippos, right, just above the Sea of Galilee, and you can see quite a few others. And there is one only city which belongs to the Decapolis, to the same team, which is called Skytopolis. And this is the only one which is west of the Jordan River. Skytopolis today is known as Beit She'an, which is the Old Testament name. So we have 10 cities, one only is in the west side of the Jordan River, that's Beit She'an. And this was actually considered to be the capital of the Decapolis, of these 10 cities of the Roman and Byzantine period. So if we agree that this city is so significant and so important and so special, so it must be very well decorated. Sorry, I have to share screen. Example of how beautifully decorated it was. Look, this is a little fraction of a structure, maybe even a pillar, probably not a pillar, just the upper part of the building, the bottom part of the roof. Look how beautiful and how precise this flower is. Look at these decorations here. Look how small this little round balls, or whatever you'd like to call them. We have no idea what building that was and what was the significance of the building, but we can definitely tell how difficult it was to make these decorations, because again, all these black stones which were used to make the city, this is basalt, and basalt rock, which is the local rock, is very, very hard and stubborn. So if you want to make decorations out of it, you have to be, well, very, very hard working. And so as you will see later, and as you could probably see on the video, some of the decorations were made of limestone, which had to be brought from elsewhere, but not very far, and it's much softer. But then it will not last as long as the basalt. This pillar was found here in the first excavations a few decades ago. And if we come closer and look very carefully, so we can see that there is an inscription here. It's very difficult to read, but this inscription is in Arabic. Definitely Arabic, and this inscription is dedicated to an Arab after the Arabs in century. Sussita survived a bit longer after that, and it was finally destroyed by the worst earthquake ever, at least in Israel, in 749 AD. The tragic, the famous earthquake, which was mentioned by literally every historian and mentioned quite a few times in something which is called the Cairo Gniza, this huge collection of writings, Jewish mostly, not just Jewish, of about 1,000 years long. Downhill, I don't know if you can see the Galilee. If you cannot, so we will make it closer. I can see the Sea of Galilee very well, and then on the other side, we can see the Galilee hills, the Galilee mountains, and even Mount Arbel. Well, we will get closer to it. Hey, no, could you please turn off your cameras, guys? I always prefer to see faces rather than black squares, but on the other hand, it's better for our signal quality. Okay, so if you can turn off your cameras. Okay, so as we walk into the city, you know, for those of you who haven't been to Israel, it is normally dry, it is normally hot. And so one of the first questions tourists ask about themselves is like, where do we get water? Where can we get drinking water? And as soon as we make it to an archaeological site, we have to ask ourselves exactly the same question. Where did they take the drinking water from? And before we find an answer, we cannot actually proceed towards better understanding of the site. So in case of Sussita, first of all, when it started as a relatively small town, so they relied on water cisterns. Later, they started bringing water from two water sources, two springs. One is next to Kfar Horov, a bit south, and the other one is a bit northeast from us, close to Kibbutz Afik. And later they brought water from as far as 25 kilometers away from here, from Nahal Semech. 25 kilometers is approximately 17 miles, right? So they had to make water cisterns. They had to make waterways, which were made out of a little, well, round-shaped, ring-looking stone-made things. I need another word, but I don't have it. You know, these things which form a chain eventually. Well, I hope you know what I mean. And that was again made out of basalt. And the whole thing would make it to the gate where we started, where we met today. And then the water system, the water underground system would be placed all the way underneath the street. So that I'm a bit elevated just above here, all right? And that elevation here, okay, now you look straight forward, straight on the left-hand side of the paved road, and you can see that this sidewalk looks different. And if we turn around, and if we turn around, so you can see once again that same pattern keeps all the way back towards the gate. And that's because here underground, we have this water tunnel. We have this water supply system, which brought the water from these two springs and then from Nahal Semech, which is a much larger water source, 17 miles north from here. And then you have to store the water. So we will see just a few of the water systems which used to be here. There were so much more. Now we are walking down one of the typical streets of Sussita. Sussita was established probably in the 2nd century BCE, maybe 1st century BCE, as a Greek town named Hippos. Again, the horse, maybe because of the shape of the heel. It was populated mainly by Gentiles, but also by Jews. And we know that these Jews were slaughtered by the local pagan population in the Great Jewish Revolt, the one which started at 66 AD in Caesarea and ended 73 AD on Masada. So during this great Jewish revolt, the Jewish population of Sussita was slaughtered, but then it was renewed. So we know that we had pagans here and we had Jews here. By the way, we did find quite a few churches here. We never found a synagogue here, and this is something we are looking forward to. We also know that the Jewish population was rather large one, because there is an inscription, a Mosaic inscription, one of the most famous Mosaic inscriptions ever found. It was found south from here, not far from Kibbutz Ein Gev, and it is known as the Rehov inscription. Anyhow, this one mentions an area of Sussita, Tchum Sussita, and all the Jewish villages in this area of Sussita, they are asurot, they are forbidden. It doesn't mean that they are forbidden to live in. It means that the Jewish population there is such a large one, so they are committed to keep all the mitzvot which are related to the land of Israel. So they have to do the donations, the trumot and the ma'aserot, and other land of Israel related mitzvot, even though they are located outside of the usual Mishnah definition of the land of Israel. So anyhow, the bottom line is that we know that we had Jews and pagans here, and later when the Byzantine Empire became Christian, so Jews and Christians live together around here, and we are yet looking for a synagogue, while we already found 8 churches. And one of these churches is right here in front of us. Okay. What we can see here are some of the capitals, some of the upper decorations of the pillars. So you have to imagine that here we have tall pillars standing on both sides. We just entered through where the original gate used to be, and now we are facing the apse and we are facing the altar, which used to be here, and it did not survive. But the most interesting thing about this church, and maybe other churches as well, is a mosaic. Look here in this little corner, we can see, well, a piece of a very simple white mosaic, nothing but right. Another mosaic, which was very special mosaic, was found. I saw a telephone, and this mosaic I want you to take a look at before I tell you something about it. Okay, I hope you can see this mosaic, and on that mosaic you're supposed to see fish. Okay, yes, do we see fish? All right, and right next to these fish we have, on the same mosaic, it's a large mosaic, we have this. Okay, I'm not sure what does it look like to you. The first time I saw it, I thought of a ice cream cone. Okay, probably that's not ice cream. We are talking about a mosaic of the 5th or maybe 6th centuries AD, way before Mosaic. Anyhow, the common understanding of these 2 mosaics, okay, and the proximity of fish and the ice cream cone, is the miracle of multiplication of loaves and fishes. And this is one of the miracles which is described in every single one of the 4 Gospels. And for those of you who never read the Gospels, so to make the long story short, Jesus was approached by crowds, and it was evening time. They had nothing to eat. And the disciples told him, hey, let them go home and get something to eat. And Jesus said, no, you should feed them. And they said, well, we have nothing. And in several places, it is mentioned as 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. And in the Gospel according to Mark, it just says we have 5 breads and a few small fish, okay, without a number. And Jesus said, well, this is okay, give it to me. And then he said a blessing, and he broke the bread and the fish and gave it to the disciples, and the disciples fed the crowd. All right. This is something which is called the miracle of multiplication of loaves and fishes. And that's because, you know, there were 5,000 people. We have another description with 4,000 people. This is a different miracle, but anyhow, we're talking about thousands of people, and you have 5 bread and 2 fish, few fish. This is not enough, right? Okay. So where did it happen? This is very important for Christians. And for those of you who have been to Israel, you might have been told or maybe visited the Church of Multiplication of Loaves and Fishes. Where is it? Well, this is in the northern end of the Sea of Galilee. And now we will move so you will be able to see the location. And you can see the Sea of Galilee right behind me. There is a little hill which looks like a belly button of Ein Gev. And behind the Horn of Ein Gev on the northern edge of the Sea of Galilee, this is where the Church of Multiplication of Loaves and Fishes is. All right, starting from the Byzantine times. Now, about a year ago, just over a year ago, when this mosaic I told you about was found in here on Sussita, and Sussita is overlooking the east coast of the Sea of Galilee. So now there is a suggestion that maybe the miracle of the multiplication did not happen at the northern end, but rather closer to Ein Gev. Okay. Well, you may agree, you may disagree, that's okay. I don't have an opinion, but this is definitely a beautiful, special, unique mosaic, which was found here at Sussita. Okay, now we will make our way very carefully downhill. Okay, let's make it from here. As you can see, this place is not yet open to the public. I mean, the first excavations here were performed very, like, just a few little spots in the 50s, and then some excavations were performed about 20 years ago in the year 2000 and 2001. And then during the last 2 years, 3 years, we have an extensive excavations going on, and they're still in progress because the the National Parks Authority is about to open this place to the public and take money for the visit. So they want to excavate as much as possible and then probably take as much money as possible. And so right now it's sort of in between. So we are touring here, but we really have to be careful. We are standing in a large structure, which might be a church as well. It might be an originally pagan temple, which was later transferred to be a church. And right here, okay, there is a little opening. There is not much we can see right now, but this might be the location of the baptisterium, meaning the place where people will be baptized. So we are talking about again, and not just little kids. Once again, we have to be careful. Okay, what you see here is the open area, the so-called forum. We came originally from the left, from the east, and as soon as you walk into the city, you can see some houses, churches, and then an open area. Now, the most important part of this open area, of this forum, is this. You see, I'm standing on a podium, and this podium is a special one. It is semi-circular, so it is not a base of a pillar, as we might think. Over there is a round base of a pillar. This podium is a unique feature of a polis. I mean, if you enter a city in the Roman period and you see an open square where people could meet, people can demonstrate, maybe buy and sell, and then you will have a semicircular podium. That means that this is where a statue of the ruler of the city would be located, and that means that you are in a polis. It's not just a town, it's not just a small city. It is a city which has its region to it. It's like Tel Aviv for Gush Dan. So as soon as the archaeologists found the podium, they knew for sure that this is Sussita. By the way, interestingly enough, the Arab name of the place is the stronghold of a horse. I don't remember the Arab way to say it, but this is the meaning of the name. So they actually preserved the name Sussita or Hippos, even though Sussita was ruined by that earthquake in the mid-8th century and abandoned ever since. This is amazing, but the name stayed, and this is the final proof that this is Sussita. We will cross the forum. On your right-hand side, you can see a large wall which belongs to actually a few structures, and you can see that it's made partly of black basalt stone, and the upper part, well, you can actually tell that this is not special stones which were specially prepared for making this wall. This is actually sort of a collection of stones which were found around the place, and that's because the basalt, the lower basalt layer, this is the original layer, and then Sussita was damaged by an earthquake in the 4th century. So it was damaged, and after some 20 years, it was restored. In order to restore it, they didn't want to bother with these basalt stones, which is so difficult and so stubborn. So they just picked up the white limestone from around the place and used it to restore the structure. Here in front of you and on the left, we have a structure which we don't really know what it is, but, well, maybe next time we will come here, we will know. And before we keep walking straight forward towards the Sea of Galilee, I would like us to take a right and take a look at, well, 2 more things. Well, as you can see, we made it upstairs. Made that not real stairs, but we made it up here. And here we are on a more or less flat basalt-made floor. And right in the middle, there is an opening, which is not very deep. It's about this deep. So this is one floor. And then there is another floor on the other side. And then in between the two, there are two water cisterns. Okay, I hope you can see the cistern. You can see the stairs leading downstairs, and we have exactly the same thing on the other side. So we have two floors with two openings and two cisterns with stairs. So in the beginning, when the archaeologists found the first cistern, they were so happy because, you know, normally, because in Israel, at least Jewish archaeologists, when they find a cistern with stairs, they automatically think of a mikveh. So they were very happy, especially to find two mikvehs. But then they kept excavating, and then they found the floor and they found the opening, and therefore they understood that these are no mikvehs. This is actually a wine press. So we put the grapes on here, and we start stepping on them, jumping on them, dancing on them, singing on them, and eventually we have the grape juice flowing down here, down here, and then into there, and then deep into that cistern. I know that it doesn't look very convincing, but this is what the archaeologists believe, and this is definitely not a mikveh. And after you're done dancing on the grapes, you pick up the grapes, and then here you place a huge screw, and you put the grapes in the baskets underneath, and then you can get some more juice. Right next to here, we have another interesting stone, which, and those of you who've been to Israel, you might be familiar. And this is this. All right, what is this? Well, this is part of an oil press. This is part of something called Beit Habat in Hebrew. You crush the olives, and then the crushed olives, which look like a disgusting brown, black porridge, you put in special baskets. You put the baskets on here, and then you put a press on top. So this is sort of a little industrial area, if you wish, of Sussita, because, you know, churches are nice, but this is not enough in terms of income. Cool. Let's see another church, just because it's the biggest one. And then we will get closer to the sunset. You see the sunset, very yellow, pretty high above the mountains. The city, which is right across the Sea of Galilee, right in front of us, this is Tiberias, okay? Yeah, the one which is right in front of us, right from the sun. And if you take a left from the sun, so you can see a top of a mound, which looks like very, very round thing. And this is Mount Tabor. Well, this is not easy for a cell phone doing a Zoom presentation. I hope you can, well, you don't see much. Actually, we don't see much. What we can see is a very deep darkness. And that's because this is one of these water cisterns I told you before. I mean, if we have rainfall here, we want to keep the rain. If we have water running all the way from Ein Peak and Kfar Harub, we need to store it. And then if we bring water all the way from other side of the hill, so again, we need to store it. And so we have dozens of water cisterns underground. Some were already identified and excavated, others were not. And actually we have so many years of future excavations around here. So VFI plus archaeology. Sussita is waiting for you. And others who do not belong to VFI archaeology, but you'd like to do archaeology, I think this is the best location today in Israel for the archaeology. And here it is, another huge church. We actually know that Sussita had a bishop starting from 359, which is very early. It had a cathedral starting from the mid-4th century. Why? So we don't know, but one of the explanations is, remember I told you about this miracle of multiplication and loaves of fishes, which definitely did not happen here. It definitely happened on the coast of the Sea of Galilee, even either here or there, but it definitely happened on the shore. But we have another miracle, and that other miracle is known as the miracle of the Leggio, or the miracle of the swine. Okay, pig. All right. So to make the long story short, we read about this miracle in the Gospels when Jesus crossed the Sea of Galilee, and he made it to a place which is called the land of the Gergashim. Okay, that's in Hebrew. And there was a guy. Another place he's mentioned as two guys. But anyhow, there was at least one guy who was possessed by devils. And Jesus talked to the devils, and he made the devils who used to be in that guy to enter a herd of pigs. Okay? And then the pigs got mad and committed suicide. While the guy who was cured and now he was okay with no devils and no pigs around, he walked to the Decapolis and told about the miracle. All right? Okay? So we have a place which is called Kursi, which is believed to be the location of the miracle. And Kursi is just a bit north, right by the Sea of Galilee. But maybe if this place is so rich and this place has so many churches, and we have this great church here, and we know about a cathedral and all that, so maybe this is why that guy with no devils was sent to the Decapolis to tell about the miracle, because it actually happened here in Sussita, which is one of the cities of the Decapolis. So maybe, if you wish, this is where Jesus was walking and talking and making miracles. All right, so if you're Jewish, you don't care that much. If you're Christian, well, you care a great deal. And if you are Christian and evangelical, you are an evangelical Christian, so this place is perfect. It's overlooking the Sea of Galilee. It may be connected, directly connected to the Gospels. There is no Catholic church. There is no synagogue. It's just an open space. And so normally, with no pandemic, we would be walking around with so many groups, walking, talking, reading the Bible, praying, just enjoying sunset. So the fact is that we are on our own, but this is not the normal way. So We are about to leave the main part of the city and all these churches behind us, and we are on our way to the last Roman structure, and we will be talking about things which happened 72 years ago rather than 14 centuries. And so before we leave the archaeological, the major part of the archaeological site, I would like you to take a look at some finds which were made here. There's so much more, but this is what I could find on the internet. And later, whenever the museums will be reopened, I will be visiting the Hecht Museum in Hyper University once again, and I will be able to take some more photos. This is a mask which was found here, and this mask made of bronze. This is what it looked like when it was discovered, and it's believed to belong to Pan, this god who caused Pan. And after it was cleaned, this is what it looked like. It is a mask which was probably placed either on a temple or maybe on a person during dedicated Greek mythology. So now you can easily see that this is bronze indeed. This is another beautiful mosaic. This is another part of the same mosaic with fish and the ice cone. And here we have two pigeons. The pigeons are also very common motif among early Christians. And okay, now you can see quite a few pots, clay pots, which were uncovered here. And this is just amazing that it survived. You see, this is a glass-made vessel which might be used for a perfume, or maybe, I don't know, my guess is your guess, but this is a glass-made object which is 14th century old, at least. Maybe even older than that. And we just found, let's talk about things which happened not that long ago to the Roman period Odeon. Where you can see some rustic metal wrecks. I have no idea what was it supposed to be, but on them you can see a sign which is like white strip, black strip, and white strip. And this is the way we mark our passes. So if you take a proper map or you use the proper app, so you can find a path which goes to where you want to go, and then you can follow it. And then you have these marks on the map and on the ground as well. So this is the black path which connects Sussita with Kibbutz Ein Gev. Now we are walking the dirt road, which is the one we use today, while on my left-hand side, you can see more pillars and you can see more pavement. So this was the main road which approached Sussita from the west. So Sussita, sort of like Masada, it had two main roads and two main gates, at least as we know today. Maybe later we will discover more gates, more roads, who knows. Well, this structure, which is the last Roman structure for us for today, it looks like a little theater. Actually, I am and Noam, we are standing on the stage. This is where the performer would be standing and singing. It looks like a small theater. I mean, this semicircle behind me, this is where the seats would be. Small theater, but too small for a theater. And that's why the archaeologists decided that this is an audience. The audience is meant for smaller audience, and this is for singing only. You know, we say audio today, that's because the Latin word for hearing is audio. So this is the audience. So now I'm supposed to sing standing with my back to you, but since I will not be singing, that's better for you. So forget about the audience. It's just an amazing place to watch sunset. As you can see, the lovebirds behind me. And here, I want to talk about Kibbutz Ein Gev and what happened 70 years ago. So please follow me to over there. I hope they will not be mad. Go איתי זהו. לא, אבל אני צריכה את הדברים. אני צריכה את הדברים. אני צריכה שהם יראו את הקיבוץ. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so this is our last stop. And down there, some 2 kilometers west from us, and some 300 meters maybe below us, right on the beach, this is Kibbutz Ein Gev. Kibbutz Ein Gev was established by Jews, mainly from Europe, back in 1937, as one of the kibbutzim which were established in a way, in a strategy, which is called Choma u'Migdal. Choma u'Migdal means the wall and the tower, which means that suppose you want to create a new kibbutz or a new moshav, but the thing is that the Arabs around you, they don't want you to create it, and therefore, okay, we are talking about the British Mandate period, and therefore you have to be totally ready, meaning that you want to have your tower, your watchtower ready, your walls ready, your tents ready, and then within one day you can build a very small but fortified settlement, which is legal according to the British rule. Was Kibbutz Ein Gev, which is still down there, happy and prosperous. And today they have a holiday village, and maybe some of you even stayed in that holiday village, but that happened much later. So 1937, we have kibbutz established. 1948, we have the Independence War. And the Syrians who are present over the Golan, including here, that used to be a Syrian military outpost. And as you can see, if you're Syrian and you have your machine gun, and the kibbutz is down there, so, well, you are in control. And therefore, 37 members of young kibbutz who were led by this gentleman. His name is Meir Kuczynski. Up above, you can see him young, and then down there, you can see him much older. They decided that they will, they will decide upon things. And so after 2 days only of military practice, they decided that the night between July 17th and July 18th, they have the reasons for that, but this is a different topic, why exactly this night. But they decided that what they're going to do, they will be hiking from Kibbutz Ein Gev all the way to the top of Sussita, and that will be a big surprise for the Syrians. And they hope that this stronghold feel so well protected, they will not even bother to have actually, enough forces here. And that's exactly what happened. So they made it at night, 37 young men from the kibbutz, and the Syrian surprise was so large that they simply ran away. There was no battle here. There were a few shots here and there, but there was no actual battle. Nobody from our forces were killed. And the next day they issued this description, okay, printed on a machine describing what exactly happened and how many people and how many bullets were used, because, we did not have that many bullets. And the Syrians actually never fought back. They could have, but they did not. And that's how this was the only spot on the entire Golan Plateau which belonged to the land of Israel from the very beginning, from 1948. And so the Syrian military base became the IDF military base. And Ben-Gurion, he was so happy and proud, and he visited the spot and he loved the location so much. I mean, this is the perfect location. So he decided that what we should have here is a hotel, just for recreation. It never worked, because remember where we started? This is more or less where the hotel was supposed to be built, and this is some 60 feet from the Syrian border. This is not the best location to relax. But this was an Israeli outpost until 1967, and then the border moved east, and then it became what you see around you now. Now, Meir Kuczynski, the guy who led the forces in 1948, he became the chairman of the kibbutz, and he established a tradition. Now, according to this tradition, by the way, I forgot, this is a great book for those who read Hebrew. It's issued by the IDF, Hotzat Ma'arachot, and it is called Hametzuda Bekidmat HaKineret. It means the fortress in the front of the Sea of Galilee. And what you see here is Kibbutz Ein Gev, the very young Kibbutz Ein Gev, and the hill of Sussita right on top of it. On this photo, you can actually see how threatened they felt living in Kibbutz Ein Gev, having the Syrians up here. So Meir Kuczynski, who became the chairman of Kibbutz Ein Gev, he was the chairman for like decades, he established a tradition according to which every year, every summer, not exactly the same date, but every summer, July or August, all the kids of the kibbutz who were about to have their bat mitzvah or bar mitzvah, 12, 13 years old, all of them will wake up at night, okay? He managed, and some other adults who knew about it, they managed to keep it secret. So nobody actually knew when is this night. They all knew that it's going to happen, but nobody knew which night it's going to be. So at one night, all of a sudden, as a surprise, the kids woke up and they would climb Sussita. They will make it all the way up there. This is very steep. You see how far downhill Kibbutz Ein Gev is, and you have to hike it at night. And then at some point, Meir Kuczynski would be waiting for them. They had to walk one after the other. And then each kid who would reach Meir Kuczynski, he would ask him, hey, what is the sisma? What is the parole? How do you call it? The word you have to say in order to, the code. Okay. So what is the code? And the answer was Sussita. Simple. And then they would keep hiking uphill just a little bit further, and then they would make it here. Okay, that means that they took Sussita. And then, look, this is a photo which was taken a few years ago. You can see this old gentleman. This is Meir Kuczynski. He passed away just a few years ago, and a bunch of teenagers who just made it to Sussita. And then, I don't know if you see what he has in his hand, but what he has is a bottle of whiskey. And every single child of Kibbutz Ein Gev ever since would make it to Sussita, and Mayor Kuczynski would be waiting for them with a bottle of whiskey, and each one of them would get a sip. So we will not be drinking because I don't like whiskey and because I have to drive back home later. But this is the story of Sussita and Kibbutz Ein Gev. And even though Mayor Kuczynski passed away a few years ago, but the tradition is still there. And every single kid, except of this year because of the pandemic, would hike it at night to Sussita, would say the code Sussita, and would drink whiskey on top. So, oops. Yeah. All right, so before I start polluting the area, I wanted to pick it up. So our tour is over, and we see the last minutes of sunset, and I hope you enjoy the tour. If you have any questions, you're welcome, and donations are appreciated as always.
Thanks so much, Julia. I posted how to make donations, how to give donations.
Great, thank you.
Steve clapping over there. Steve, can we hear you?
No, I cannot hear him clapping. No one says that there is a question. Huh?
I didn't see a question. Oh.
Yeah. What is the glass? Can you write what she said because the signal obscured it? What the glass vessel size? It's a small one. It's about this size. Okay, it's maybe, I don't know, 7-8 centimeters maybe. Okay.
That was the only question I saw.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so it was either really understandable or totally unclear. Hebrew word, sisma means password. Okay, so password.
I apologize for the video. Today's session went through a data center in Ireland. Maybe next week will be different.
Well, we will try. Maybe we should try the North Pole. You know, we always try a different location and then something, maybe a penguin. But you know, we tried. We did our best, and Sea of Galilee behind me. All right. So, if Norton, would you like to say something? I see Norton. Okay. No, said that it started quite long ago. So guys, if you want to say something, so please unmute yourself and say something. Otherwise, next week we will have a presentation. Thank you, Stuart. Thanks so much. Next week we have a presentation by Sharon Newman. You already heard her speaking of, what was it? Oh yeah, Jerusalem of Gold, of course.
Gold,
so next week, Jerusalem of Gold, right? And next week's presentation will be about the inscriptions, the development of writing in Hebrew, following the archaeological finds of inscriptions. So we will start from the most ancient Hebrew inscriptions, and we will make it through to, I'm not sure how long ago, but it's actually the history of writing, which I think is a very interesting topic. And then Thursday, there will be a live Zoom tour from Tel Aviv. But we've been to Old Jaffa already. We've been to Rothschild Boulevard, which is young Tel Aviv. And next week, we will be touring a neighborhood which we call it the father of Tel Aviv, and this is Neve Tzedek. This is a very small, very beautiful, very charming neighborhood, which is sort of an intermediate stage between Old Jaffa and Rothschild Boulevard. I mean, when Jews first left Jaffa, they established Neve Tzedek, and then they established Tel Aviv. So it's sort of an intermediate, and it has sort of an intermediate feeling to it. So you are very much welcome to join us next week in Tel Aviv.
Julia, was that a change? Because from the information I had, we were doing Akko.
Right, you are totally right, but the problem is that there will be no lockdown next week, but I'm not sure the museums and the bazaars will be open, you see, and if they're closed, so there's not much we can show you in Akko.
Okay, got it.
I thought that it will be, yeah, I mean, it is a pity. I would rather go to Akko because this is a brand new destination, but I don't want, like, I don't know if it will make any sense. And since we have to decide now, so we'd rather go to a more certain spot.
Great.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Good
Sounds
plan.
good. I've always wanted to see Neve Tzedek, and I've never gotten there. So.
Well, so you will have an opportunity next week. We will be walking and talking around. Okay. So,
Any questions? Any questions on the line?
Feel free to turn your video back on also.
Yeah. Video on, audio on.
This is a good
I wanted to know if you could get to this place that we've seen today only by car. Is there a bus that can take you there?
No, you must have either a car or, a sort of a vehicle. I mean, no, there is no public transport here. So it's either a private transport of any sort or hiking, just like the kids from Ein Gev. But this is very difficult.
Yeah.
So, yeah. As soon as they open this place to the public, so I'm sure that quite a lot of tour groups will have it as part of their itinerary, and then their bus will drive them. But there is no public transport.
I want to thank Newman for his very fine camera handling today, up and down the hills, trying to track his mom like that. Excellent.
Yeah, I know this is difficult. I was actually I was quite scared because actually the terrain here is not easy. There are some thorns and bush and yeah, but he's very talented, right?
Sounds at the same time, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard.
Pardon?
Paul,
Next week on Thursday at the same time, 10 o'clock New York time.
it's a little muffled, Paula. I think, Julia, Paula's asking if next week, if it's 10 a.m. on Thursday and 2 p.m. on Thursday. I mean, on Thursday and 2 p.m. on Tuesday.
Yeah, it's going to be same time because you see, it is. Well, how is the lighting actually? Is it good enough for you?
Yes, excellent.
Yes.
Yes, it's excellent.
Yes.
It just depends on whether your back is against the light or you are facing.
Yeah, but it's the last light in half an hour. It won't be.
Yeah,
possible.
in half an hour it's gonna be dark around here, and so if we will not start at 5 p.m. Israeli time, so we might be running late into darkness. Even though in Tel Aviv it's not such a big deal, but still I think it will be too difficult for you to watch it on Zoom.
And this
So
is
we
Greg.
should start at 10 a.m.
I'm Greg, and my video won't show up. Someone stop my video.
I had to cut it because we were trying to cut everyone's and yours wasn't cutting.
Okay.
It's okay, Greg.
I'm taking it personally.
I've asked to start your video. Just click accept.
Please
That's
don't.
right.
Try it again, Greg. I just invited you to start it again.
Okay, there I am. Okay, thank you. That's okay. I'll be back next week.
Very good. See you then.
Julia, I want to say that I am extremely impressed with your presentations, your knowledge, and the fact that you don't step on a pebble and fall down, because I would be all over the place if I was there.
Well, it actually happened to me once. in Old Jaffa, and it happened to Noam once in the same location, and I hope that it will never happen again. Huh?
Well, it's embarrassing, but
yeah, I know, but we know each other for quite long. Like we see each other almost every week for the last couple of months. So I feel that it happens.
yeah.
Okay, guys. There is a question by Stuart, and so it's about masks. We were walking around the Sukkot. So the whole thing with COVID-19 is rather controversial, and not getting in too deep into this very complicated discussion, but quite a few people believe that if you are basically healthy, so it's better for you to catch the virus before the winter, because winter time we have flu and we have other viruses, and so if to be sick, it's better to be sick summertime rather than winter time. And in small communities like ours, people don't wear masks. Okay, so yeah, it's so if we are talking about the legal situation, it is illegal. If we are talking about people's behavior and what people believe is right, so that's what it is.
I switched to one of those plastic masks. You just covers your face and you can breathe, and it's a wonderful thing to wear.
It won't work with the mic, but
no, there is no way we can use the mic and use the mask at the same time.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but anyhow, I mean, even without the mic, I mean, in our community, we don't use masks unless people are very old, or they have other reasons to be specifically afraid of the virus. But
thank you for everything you do.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being there. I mean, without you, it wouldn't happen. And I enjoy these places we tour together, like each and every time. So thank you for making me go there. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks again.
See you next week.
See you next week.
Okay.
So much, Julia.
Bye, Julia.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julia.
Shalom.
No, thank you.
Shalom.
Bye.
Is that working?
Yes.
So we walked all around this area. I hope you took notes.
Better.
Is it?
It's much better.
Yeah. We have fewer people. Who knows?
Steve.
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
you can tell how much Julia loves what she does.
Oh, yes. It's definitely from the heart.
Yes, you have chosen a magnificent guide.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. All is well.
Good.
Just
We
try
should
to
have
get
put
through the
music.
next.
Yeah, we should have put music on this video.
It's fascinating every time, everyone I see. I learn something twice a week. It's beautiful.
Thank goodness for Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yes, I look forward to them. I mean, I plan my days around them, so now I know 10 to 11 next week. It's Tuesdays and Thursdays.
You know what, Steve? We should ask people to send in testimonials like this, like what Judy's saying, to help promote the program. Judy, would you be able to write that down and email it to us?
Sure. Yeah.
If anyone who's still on wants to do that, that would be great. It's a good way for us to promote, is for people to hear what other people think.
It would be helpful. Yeah, that would be helpful. Yes.
Could I say something?